HOA Karen. The Pool Wars. Part 1. The Breaking Point. Karen Whitmore's manicured fingernails dug into the leather steering wheel as she stared at the construction crew dismantling what used to be her pristine backyard pool. The jackhammer's relentless pounding felt like nails on a chalkboard, each strike sending shockwaves through her perfectly organized world. "Stop!" she shrieked, bursting from her BMW like a woman possessed. "Get away from my property." The workers paused, sweat dripping from their faces as they watched this blonde tornado in a tennis outfit charge toward them. Behind them, HOA officer Marcus Chen stood clipboard in hand, his expression a mixture of professional duty and barely concealed dread. "Ma'am, please step back," Marcus said, raising his free hand. "This is official HOA business. The pool was installed without proper permits and violates 3 neighborhood covenants." Karen's face turned the color of her pink polo shirt. "VIOLATES. I've lived here for 12 years. I helped violate those covenants." Spittle flew from her lips as she jabbed her finger toward the half-demolished pool. "You people are stealing from me." "Mrs. Whitmore, we've been over this. The pool extends 18 inches into the required setback zone, and the filtration system noise exceeds. I don't care about your precious little rules." Karen interrupted, her voice rising to a pitch that made nearby dogs whimper. "Do you know who I am? Do you know how much I've contributed to this neighborhood? I've organized the 4th of July barbecues. I single-handedly got speed bumps installed on Maple Street." Marcus sighed, a sound that seemed to come from his very soul. In his 5 years as HOA enforcement officer, he'd dealt with plenty of difficult homeowners, but Karen Whitmore was in a league of her own. She'd filed 47 complaints in the past year alone, everything from mailbox heights to the offensive color of the Johnsons' front door. "Ma'am," the board voted unanimously, "the pool has to go." Karen's eyes narrowed to slits. "The board? You mean my neighbors? The same neighbors whose property values I've protected for over a decade?" She laughed, a sound like breaking glass. "Well, Marcus, you've just made the biggest mistake of your pathetic little bureaucratic life." She spun on her designer sneakers and marched back toward her house, her ponytail swishing with each determined step. The construction crew exchanged glances and resumed their work, but Marcus felt a chill that had nothing to do with the morning breeze. Inside her pristine kitchen, Karen pulled out her phone with trembling hands. Her contact list read like a who's who of local power brokers, city council members, the mayor's assistant, 3 different lawyers, and the editor of the Willowbrook Gazette. She'd cultivated these relationships carefully over the years, never imagining she'd need to call in every favor at once. But if the HOA wanted a war, Karen Whitmore would give them one they'd never forget. I knew. Karen had made 17 phone calls and sent 43 emails. Her kitchen island was covered with printed property deeds, HOA bylaws, and a detailed timeline she'd created titled HOA Corruption and Harassment, the Marcus Chen Files. The first victory came at 1:47 p.m. when her lawyer, Bradley Thornton, called back with interesting news. "Karen, you might have something here." His voice crackled through her Bluetooth earpiece as she paced her marble foyer. "The HOA's enforcement procedure has some irregularities. They're required to give property owners 60 days notice before any major remediation. You receipt 37. Karen's eyes gleamed. "I knew it. What else?" Marcus Chen approved his own overtime for the pool demolition project. That's a conflict of interest. And get this, the construction company they hired, Chen's brother-in-law, is a partner. Nepotism and corruption. Karen breathed, already composing her next email blast. Beautiful. But her real masterstroke came at 3 p.m. during the emergency HOA board meeting she demanded. Karen arrived 15 minutes early, armed with a 3-inch binder and a smile sharp enough to cut glass. Board President Janet Morrison looked like she'd rather be anywhere else as the 5-member panel took their seats in the community center's sterile conference room. "Karen, we understand you're upset," Janet began. "Upset?" Karen's voice was honey over steel. "Janet, I'm disappointed. disappointed that my neighbors would allow such blatant misconduct to occur under their noses. She opened her binder with a theatrical flourish. Did you know that Marcus approved 43 pool demolitions in the past 2 years? But only 6 other homeowners received less than 60 days' notice. Would you like to guess what those 6 homeowners have in common? The board members shifted uncomfortably. Board Treasurer Paul Hendricks cleared his throat. What are you implying, Karen? I'm not implying anything, Paul. I'm stating facts. Karen pulled out a spreadsheet that would make a forensic accountant weep with joy. All 6 homeowners filed complaints against Marcus in the past year. All 6 had their cases fast-tracked through enforcement. And all 6 happened to be people Marcus has had personal conflicts with. Janet's face had gone pale. Karen, you can't seriously be sarcastic. Pattern of retaliation. Karen continued, her voice carrying the confidence of someone who'd done her homework. Abuse of authority. Possible fraud regarding the construction contracts. She snapped the binder shut. I've already forwarded copies of this analysis to the State Attorney General's office and 3 local news outlets. The room fell silent except for the hum of fluorescent lights. Marcus, who'd been sitting in the back corner, looked like he might be sick. What do you want, Karen? Janet asked quietly. Karen smiled, and for the first time in weeks, it reached her eyes. I want my pool restored. I want a formal apology. And I want a thorough investigation into Marcus's conduct. She stood, smoothing down her skirt. Oh, and I want it all in writing by 5 p.m. tomorrow. As she walked toward the door, Karen felt the intoxicating rush of power coursing through her veins. She'd spent years being dismissed as just another complaining homeowner, but now they'd see what happened when you crossed Karen Whitmore. But as she reached for the door handle, Marcus's voice stopped her cold. You might want to check your own permits, Mrs. Whitmore, he said quietly. All of them. Karen's hands shook as she spread the documents across her dining room table at 11 p.m. What had started as a victory lap through her property records had become a nightmare excavation into her own past. The home theater addition from 2019, missing a structural permit. The kitchen renovation from 2021, electrical work done without city approval. The decorative fence she'd installed last spring, 6 inches taller than neighborhood regulations allowed. Marcus had done his homework too. Her phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Glass houses, Karen. Check your email. The message that appeared in her inbox was from Marcus, sent to the entire HOA board, and copied to the same news outlets she'd contacted earlier. It contained photos, permit records, and a meticulously documented timeline of Karen's own code violations dating back 8 years. Son of a bitch, she whispered, then immediately felt guilty. Karen Whitmore didn't use profanity. But tonight, Karen Whitmore was discovering she wasn't quite the person she thought she was. Her phone rang. Janet Morrison. Karen, we need to talk. 30 minutes later, Karen found herself sitting across from Janet at the 24-hour diner on Route 9. Both women nursing coffee that had gone cold 20 minutes ago. He played you, Janet said finally. And you played right into it. Karen stared at her reflection in the black coffee. How long have you known? About your violations. I suspected something when you went nuclear over the pool. Marcus confirmed it this afternoon. Janet leaned forward. But here's the thing, Karen. We've all got skeletons. My deck is 8 square feet over the allowed limit. Paul's shed is 3 feet too close to his property line. The Hendersons have been running an unlicensed dog grooming business out of their garage for 2 years. Karen looked up confused. Then why? Because you made it personal, Janet interrupted. You turned this neighborhood into a war zone with your complaints and your power trips. Marcus might be a petty tyrant, but at least he's an equal opportunity petty tyrant. You've been terrorizing people for years. The words hit Karen like a physical blow. I was protecting property values. I was maintaining standards. You were bullying people, Janet said quietly. The Johnsons painted their door that color because their daughter has autism and it helps her identify home from a distance. Mrs. Chen planted those non-approved flowers because they're the same ones her late husband grew in their first apartment. You never asked why, Karen. You just attacked. Karen felt something crack inside her chest. Pride, maybe, or the carefully constructed image she'd built of herself as the neighborhood's protector. So what happens now? She asked. Janet smiled sadly. Now we all pretend to be adults. Marcus agreed to restore your pool if you drop the investigation. In return, you'll work with homeowners on compliance instead of just reporting them. Think of it as community service. Karen almost laughed. And if I refuse? Then we all go down together. The state investigation you triggered, it's not just looking at Marcus anymore. They're auditing the entire HOA going back 5 years. Every permit, every approval, every variance. How long do you think our little arrangement of looking the other way will last under that kind of scrutiny? Outside the diner window, Willowbrook slept peacefully, unaware that their queen bee was having her wings clipped. Karen thought about her pool, her reputation, her carefully ordered life that was crumbling faster than she could repair it. Fine, she said finally. But I want Marcus to personally oversee the pool restoration. Janet raised an eyebrow. That's either very magnanimous of you or incredibly petty. Karen's smile held no warmth. Why not both? As they prepared to leave, Janet paused. Karen, there's something else. The state investigator mentioned they might want to interview some residents about HOA governance practices. Your name came up as someone with extensive knowledge of enforcement patterns. Karen felt the familiar chill of uncertainty creep up her spine. She'd opened Pandora's box to save her pool, but what else might come crawling out remained to be seen. Walking to her car under the fluorescent parking lot lights, Karen Whitmore realized that winning and losing weren't as different as she'd always believed. And somewhere in the darkness of her perfectly manicured neighborhood, she had the unsettling feeling that the real game was just beginning.